What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Game, your one source for everything cool in video games. Now, you can always be a part of our show. All you have to do is go to insidethegame.ca or hit us up in Discord, where there you can submit your clip and end off our show. What's coming up on today's episode? Here it is. It's the rundown.
Well, Steve, we got a chance to take a look at Distant Kingdoms this week, and I just want to bounce some thoughts around. What was your first impression on it?
We made our E3 predictions, and now we're back to go over those predictions to see just how well we did.
And they've just kind of thrown this game out there, and I have never heard of it, and I don't think you have either. I thought this was actually kind of a cool, stylistic, free-running style game, because, so honestly, there are a few different things in this game that kind of mix it up a little bit, and the one thing I really enjoyed was the fact that there's a campaign here.
That looks like a fantastic show, so let's get started as Steve and Scott go the distance.
Scott, let's grab the humans, elves, orcs, and dwarves, and let's start a new life together.
Well, Steve, we got a chance to take a look at Distant Kingdoms this week, and I just want to bounce some thoughts around. What was your first impression on this game?
Well, first of all, this was my very first sim building, social management kind of game, and I've always sort of seen them and I've always been wary of them because I always find they always looked a little bit slow and a bit repetitive for me. So I was kind of looking forward to trying this one out, and I have to say, when you start off on the main screen, at the moment, because it's still early access, so we've only got a free trial and tutorial, the campaign is actually locked. So the tutorial was really good. So it basically starts you off with the marketplace and a storage unit, and then you have to link the two together by building a road, which costs you points or money. And you have to be very careful of this. And then that's the start of the premises of the game. And then it tells you to start. There's people waiting to move in. And it tells you the first basic steps of building your house, linking all the roads together. But I will say, after 3 hours of playing the tutorial, I didn't read the small print at the bottom of the screen of telling you there is no save progress after the tutorial. Which means that after that, I had to start from fresh. But I did was a little bit more better than the first time round.
That was my experience with it as well. When I had issues with my town, I just would do a restart, just start from scratch again, and knowing a little bit more about the game, I found that those designs worked a lot better. My cities grew a lot faster. But you're definitely correct about this being a colony sim, I believe they call it, which is absolutely slower than an RTS. They may look kind of similar. This one's more of a city builder, but at the core of it, you're dropping plans and your citizens are going about those plans when they have their own time, and you kind of just grow from there. You're right about the tutorial. Absolutely key that it explains how to play this game, what kind of things you should be prioritizing. That's definitely something that I've seen missing in other games kind of similar like this.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a positive, and it tells you have to establish a marketplace, you have to establish a warehouse, they need put all their resources there. Work your way into sawmills and rock quarries and building farms, and it just kind of progresses as time goes on. You put points into research, and then that gives you a whole new group of things to build. So I think it has a really satisfying gameplay loop, but this is in early access, so we're not quite certain on the campaign storytelling aspect of it. But messing around in free play, I had a pretty good time, and my cities started to get quite big.
And then I do like the quest to upgrade to make your people happy, whether it's picking berries, the needs that your community require. And then there's the skill tree. So say to gather the berries, you have to do this first, build that. And I do like the way you get the challenges to unlock these skills. for you to craft. Then if it's like a gathering container to store your berries, to supply the needs, and then the next thing you need is to build your houses is lumber. But to get the lumber mill and things like that, you have to unlock certain things, whether it's build X amount of houses or upgrade the houses, in the same respects of trying to keep everyone happy. Because if you start running out of money or the people start getting restless, they will actually leave your settlement. And then it could lead to bankrupt, which actually did happen to me twice.
The problem I found was that I would put too many resources into building certain things like housing and whatever, but then I wouldn't have enough resources to create the kind of means of feeding everybody or giving everybody a job. And when there was high unemployment, people weren't very happy with that, so I came into some issues that way. But there is a very nice logical progression. I think you've explained it, just where you have to meet a certain criteria to unlock the next level of tech. And that next level of tech could be, now you can harvest rock, you can make brick with the quarries and stuff like that. And what I liked about this game versus some similar ones, I'm going to choose not to name them, this one, you don't have to tell each settler what to do. You just create a building that has so many jobs, and they'll figure it out amongst themselves who goes to work at the sawmill or the bakery or whichever. It takes a lot less user input to keep your city running properly, and I like that for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. And as you were saying, when you start getting quite productive on the building, whether it's your crop farm, and then you have to have your windmill for the bakery to make bread, to keep your people, you start running out of space very quick. And then what I found is you get to a point where you have to build a tavern. And in that case, is then you can actually start exploring, and the exploring is only like hexagon on the map, which you can only get to either side of you to start off, just to start increasing the area to build on. And then what happens is you pick 4 different crew members, whether they're orcs, elves, dwarves, or humans, like a random. There didn't seem much logic on the choice of characters, and then they'll just venture out, and it'll just be text that will come up if they found something or something worth exploring. And then when you go back to your main map, then it's unlocked, and then you can just carry on building to your next requirements of keeping your people happy, to not make them leave. I sort of found the graphics mediocre. I found it quite suitable for the gameplay that I was playing. I know there is other sort of kind of games out there with better graphics and a bit more, I don't know if there's a bit more cutscenes or anything like that. But I did find the repetitive of the music a little bit annoying at times when you're sort of grinding for like 7 hours and you just keep the same loop of music. Is that kind of expected for these kind of games?
Yeah, I think that's a little par for the course. I agree with you, though. They certainly could have added a little bit more music variety. But I'm fresh off of another game, actually, in the same kind of loop that had absolutely no audio. And that was bad. That was definitely a negative. So at least I'm happy to see them have some sort of repeating, maybe 3-minute long song. But no, to your comment on how the game looks, I think it was adequate. I would explain it as adequate. This is an early access game, so as such, we are not ready to give it a full score. We haven't experienced the entire game yet, but if we're gonna have to recommend or not recommend this one, what would your opinion be, Steve?
I did actually enjoy the game. It did have some glitches. Wasn't too bad for me, but I did find the loading time was a little bit too long for this kind of game. It sort of almost made me bored and pulled me out a little bit. But apart from that, this is definitely a recommend for me because I did like the tutorial. Very well explained tutorial. How about you?
Oh, the tutorial is a hugely important part, often overlooked. No, I think this game is very satisfying. It has a nice gameplay loop, and it's not terribly complicated as I've seen others. So this one's a lot more user-friendly. It's a lot easier to get into.
Yeah.
This is, as a starting point for a colony sim, I think this is a very good place to start. I'm going to have to recommend this one. Distant Kingdoms is a competent and entertaining colony sim with an excellent tutorial mode. This is a great first try for those new to the genre. We definitely recommend.
A little while back, I was talking about EA Sports College Football. This was going to be kind of the revival to the NCAA College Football Sports Series that was kind of shut down. Not really shut down, but they didn't renew their license. The NCAA didn't renew their license with EA Sports after 2013. So the game kind of just disappeared. And the main issues were the fact that at the time, players weren't allowed to profit from their name, their likeness, anything about them, being emulated in a sports game whatsoever, whether it be in a game like NCAA football or just in real life, whether it be sponsorship, things like that. And that's always been kind of a sore point for the NCAA. A lot of people think it's wrong that students aren't allowed to make money from, their talents and what they're going to eventually possibly get paid millions of dollars for when they do go to the pros. But you know what? The Supreme Court has finally ruled that the NCAA will not be able to limit the amount or the profit that students will be able to make off their name, image, or likeness. And honestly, I think this is amazing. And this does change the framework for this upcoming game for EA Sports. EA Sports College Football, they've come out with a kind of a small response, and they've been also following these proceedings, the Supreme Court ruling, and the way this is kind of going to change the landscape of how they develop this game coming up. Because really, they were developing this game, thinking that they may not be able to use players' names and their looks and likeness and things like that, and that was going to limit maybe the success of the game or even the overall development of the game. But it is nice to see that where they're going to be able to actually possibly use this in the game now. They haven't fully stated whether or not it's something they're doing, but they said it's something they're monitoring and it's something they're looking at possibly including in the new EA Sports College Football. And I think this is amazing. This is the fact that players are finally getting, what they deserve, and we're getting a revival of a series of a game that, Madden needs competition. NCAA football was a great game and a great series of games. And I think the fact is if we're going to be getting EA Sports College Football coming up in the future, this could be huge, especially if we're going to be getting the development with players' names and they're going to be able to profit from it. I think the overall development of the game will be helped by that. So honestly, I'm just looking forward to the little few more details we're going to be getting as, things roll on here. But I mean, we haven't gotten a full release or any kind of date on the game yet. So we are just crossing our fingers. We know they're looking at developing one. They're in development. It's one of those things, it's a little bit of a gray area, but honestly, this can't go wrong. This is just good for the NCAA overall, honestly. And I think this is going to be good for the new EA Sports College Football game coming up.
A report by Bloomberg has resurfaced recently, and it's stating that a former Microsoft software engineer was sentenced to 9 years in prison for stealing over 10 million in digital value, such as gift cards. Now, the 26 Ukrainian Volodymyr Vashuk was involved in testing of Microsoft's online retail sales platform and used the testing access to steal currency stored value, CSV. Vashuk resold the value on the internet using the proceeds to purchase a $1.6 million lakefront home and $160,000 Tesla vehicle. Initially, Vashuk stole small amounts totaling about $12,000 in value using his own account access. As the theft escalated into millions of dollars of values, he also used test email accounts associated with employees. And he also attempted to mask digital evidence that would trace the frauds and the internet sales back to him. He used a Bitcoin mixing service in an attempt to hide the source of the funds, ultimately passing into his bank account. In 7 months of Vashuk's illegal activities, approximately 2.8 million in Bitcoin were transferred into his bank and investment accounts. He also then filed fake tax return forms claiming that Bitcoin had been a gift from a relative. In February of 2020, the federal prosecutors of the Western District of Washington took Fazook to trial for money laundering, identity theft, as well as mail and wire fraud, as well as filing false tax returns. The judge and jury found him guilty on all charges and sent him to 9 years in prison, so he should be released by March 2027. But then there's also the case of that he will get deported back to the Ukraine and he has to pay back the 8.3 million that he stole.
It's been a while since we've talked about PUBG, but honestly, this game is still a huge hit with a massive fan base, and they're still rolling out updates for the game. Mind you, this game was never huge on having updates continually, but they've always updated the game no matter how long it's taken for those updates to arrive. With their latest update, 12.2 patch, we're getting some new features that I wanted to talk about just because I thought this was really interesting. Very similar to how Fortnite adapted the ping system from Apex Legends, PUBG is now taking on their own kind of stance, their own kind of look at the comeback version of a new battle royale. They're going to call it Comeback Battle Royale, and it's going to be available on their new 8x8 map, the Tago map. This does look pretty cool, and the way it kind of works is if you are down and you're playing a squads game and you get killed during the blue zone phase, you're actually going to get thrown into a smaller mini arena where you and other players are going to be competing just like a normal battle royale, but just a mini version. And if you survive that, you will actually be brought back via helicopter onto the main map, as long as you have a player from your squad still on the main map playing the game. So I thought this was actually a pretty cool feature, and honestly the fact that they're kind of taking their own spin on it was also really neat as well. And they're also adding another feature that's also very popular in Warzone, some of the other battle royales, is a self-revive. So if you are down in any game mode now, you're going to actually be able to pick up, if you have a self-revive, and be able to use it if you're in the down state, which is really, really handy because it kind of keeps the game a little bit longer, a little more interesting, adds a lot more strategy into the way people play. So honestly, I know we don't talk about PUBG a ton, but it's really nice to see them kind of taking features that are working really well in other popular battle royales right now and adapting it into their own game. I mean, yeah, PUBG might not be the most popular battle royale out there, but it is definitely one of the most original ones, and they've been rolling pretty deep this entire time, and they've always got updates. They just might not be coming as quickly as maybe Fortnite's, maybe even Call of Duty's, but they are taking into account a lot of different things. This update has a few new weapons, a couple vehicles, so it is pretty nice to see that PUBG is still kind of really active with the community. They're seeing what's working and they're adding it to the game. It'll be very interesting to see moving forward what else they add and make pick and choose from the other popular battle royales. But honestly, good one on you, PUBG. Steve, you better get your running shoes on because this week we're running through the mean streets of Detroit in Aerial Knights Never Yield.
I keep it going like, I keep it moving like, I keep it going like.
So Steve, like I said, this week we're checking out kind of a cool 3D side-scrolling free runner, kind of parkour free runner called Aerial Knights Never Yield. This game we played on Steam. I want to preface with saying this game's about $10, $10 to $12, depending on where you're picking it up. So it's not a super expensive game. It's published by Heads Up Games, and actually the developer is just called Aerial Knight. So it's definitely an independent developer, and they've just kind of thrown this game out there. And I have never heard of it, and I don't think you have either. I thought this was actually kind of a cool stylistic free running style game, because there are a lot of games in this genre. We haven't played a ton, but they are out there. So this one has to do a couple different things to kind of, stand out from the rest. As far as your first impression, Steve, what did you think?
I actually love this game. Visually, I think the graphical style really suits the game, followed up with an awesome soundtrack to follow suit.
Yeah.
And the other good thing as well is you don't need many controls either in this game. There's only the 4 buttons. It's either a high jump or high somersault. Then you have the medium somersault, a slide, and then a dash. That's the only 4 buttons you need, and I actually played this one on the keyboard.
Oh,
but you
nice.
played yours differently, didn't you?
Yeah, I played on the controller, and it was a little bit different. Like, I think you said, we talked about this before the review, is that it didn't really matter which control style you chose, whether it was keyboard or controller. It did take a little bit just to kind of get used to the timing of this game, because the idea is we're prompted on the screen as we kind of run from left to right as, you know, what obstacles are going to be coming up and what moves we're going to have to execute to get past these obstacles. And the idea is to basically do it without hitting anything and kind of do a perfect run all the way through, whether it's just a regular level or in some of these boss battles that we do end up fighting. But because I played on controller, it took me a little bit longer to kind of get a handle on it, even though it's only 4 buttons. What I learned is the controller actually operates as kind of 3 separate controllers if you want it to. So the left stick on the controller could do all 4 moves, the D-pad could do all 4 moves, and then the 4 buttons would also do all 4 moves. So I actually ended up kind of with a hybrid of the stick and the buttons, and I did find myself actually working pretty well with that style of control. I know some people might just stick to the buttons or just the stick, but I kind of find myself kind of just default pressing one or the other every once in a while. So I thought maybe if I could adapt that style of play, it might work for me. But I don't know about you, this game's definitely not easy. It had me kind of repeating some of these runs over and over again.
Oh yes, definitely. And it's the only thing is like some of the glitches, because what happens is when you come towards an obstacle, you go into a slow-mo stage, and then you see the vehicles or whether sliding or something exploding, and then you have to hit the button in the right time. And what I found was confusing, which I thought I was late on the response, but then you find you're sliding halfway through the car or something when it's like crashing and tumbling over the top of you, and you think, did it get me or did it not? And then it goes back to the fast pace again, and it is fast and hectic. But there is 3 stages to this, 3 modes in this game. There's like the normal mode, which you get, it's the same sort of thing. You don't get as much obstacles, but you still get the slow-mo. Then the middle stage is more obstacles, but it's still the slow-mo. And then obviously the insane one is no slow-mo and just everything thrown at you at once. And it is frustrating. I found myself keep going back as soon as you die. And also, I want to quickly touch on very quick respawn. When you die, you're back in the game straight away, which makes the continue of the gameplay exciting. Because last thing you need is long load screens and things like that. Also, another thing about the gameplay is that I found the obstacles a bit repetitive as they keep repeating themselves on the higher levels. They just throw in a bit more vehicles or more people shooting at you, or even the drones coming up and flying. So that kind of put me out the experience of like, I've played this level before, but just that little bit harder. So I would have liked to see a bit more different backdrops or the landscape. And then obviously then you get into the cutscenes, which is supposed to tie all these things together, which wasn't explained at all.
No, not really. The cutscenes in this game, I mean, as cool as they look, this game's very stylized. It plays off the camera angles. We do get a change up of camera angles as we play. There is one level where we're running up the side of a building. I mean, they do a good job of kind of rotating you around this world. But the problem is once you get about halfway through some of these chapters, like you said, it really starts to look and feel repetitive. We may be getting different music each level, but again, if you're, dying and having to respawn and restart the level or restart from the checkpoint, you're hearing the same track over and over and over again. So there is a level of repetition this game really needs you to have, but also it does seem to kind of get on the side of maybe being a little too much at times. But again, it was a short playthrough. It took me about an hour and 15 minutes to get through it myself, and there just wasn't a ton here. I'd love to see maybe a multiplayer, whether it be local or online, or maybe an online kind of ranked where you can compete and have different, different times, and it's all based on, how fast you go, where you are in the standings. I mean, these are things I feel like they could add into a game like this, but again, it was just kind of a short, sweet one. It does what it's telling you it's going to do, and it's only $10. So, I mean, I can't fault it too much, Steve. If we've got a score, Aerial Knights Never Yield, what are you going to give it out of 10, bud?
I love the game style. I love the graphics. The music, I think, really held this game for me personally. But unfortunately, the repetitive of the levels and things like that, I'm getting this a 5.5.
You know what? I'm just a little bit ahead of you on that one because I feel all the same things you do. I just feel like I had a good time playing this game, but my experience was over before it really began. But at the same time, because this game was somewhat repetitive, I was glad it was done when it was done because I don't think I could go through the same music and the same levels for 13 more rounds, right? So I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. A very stylistic 3D runner with great soundtrack and easy controls to learn and master. But there isn't quite a long playthrough here, and some of the levels definitely start to feel a little repetitive.
Well, guys, we made our E3 predictions, and now we're back to go over those predictions to see just how well we did. We will get points on our predictions, and out of the top 3, we will declare the final winner who predicted the most and the right choices for E3. I kicked things off, guys, with Halo Infinite being showcased, and it was showcased. They had a trailer, which I said that we would. I also said they'd have a release date, and it was coming this fall. No release date, but it is coming this holiday season. So it's kind of like, yeah.
I would maybe at the most reward a half point.
Yeah.
So that was a long prediction, and I got, okay, I'll take half a point. I'll take.
That's pretty good. You got a lot of other things right. That's what I'm saying. Like, we could, a chink in the armor just a little bit, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that was my first prediction. Then from there, we moved on to Nate, who was all over Starfield. Starfield will be released in 2021. Nate, what happened?
So I was about a year off.
So that's a big X right there. There's that was wrong. But Nate will follow up here shortly with the other ones that I think you actually fared pretty well. Corey, you went on to say you wanted to hear info and see stuff on Breath of the Wild. You want to see something, right? You were expecting details, but a little light on details. We saw a trailer that ended off Nintendo's conference.
Yeah.
Right? There wasn't a lot of details, dude.
Not what I was looking for. I mean, it was like, obviously I was glad to see it, but at the same time, from the discussion we had previous, it's definitely not what I was looking for.
I think he gets the point though, man, because they said, oh, we got one more thing, and then they just trickled it for another 5 minutes of whatever they were talking about.
Yeah, you want to give a point or half point?
Dropped it. I think he gets a point. I think he gets a full point, man. I think he gets a full point.
All right, we'll give it to you.
The trailer showed enough of the world and that they're doing this whole like Skyward thing where they're going in the sky. So it was enough where it wasn't like a cinematic trailer. So
they gave us a little more gameplay action.
I'll give it to you, Corey.
Thanks,
all right,
buddy.
Let's give it to him. All right, then from there we followed up, and I stated, and I was dead set on this, Ubisoft would showcase Splinter Cell. Well, was I wrong? That's the biggest X in the world. You can find Splinter Cell, you can find Sam Fisher everywhere across the world, but his own flipping game. So that was no points awarded to me. Dude, that was...
I almost give you a half point, bro, just because they're doing this weird hybrid with like the Division and Rainbow and Splinter Cell or something, or Ghost Recon or something.
No, I didn't count that. I'm not. I said I wanted my own game. I said I was going to see my own Splinter Cell game, and I saw nothing at all. Ubisoft, you let me down. I did. Yeah, I did too. Yep, yeah, I was all pumped for it, man. I was all set, and I lost miserably. Nate, you said there would be an announcement on Metroid 4, which, right? They actually said we're working on it, but that's all they said.
Yeah.
So,
Metroid Dread, though.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I'm gonna give you half a point, Nate, because they did mention that they are at least working on it, so there was something there at E3. So let's go with a half a point for Nate, because that was sweet. It was better than absolutely nothing. Corey flunked his next one miserably by 4 years. We just found out today. GTA 6, it won't be coming at all. He said we hope to see something. We saw absolutely nothing. It was a ghost town in the world of GTA. So, no points awarded to Corey.
Brutal.
My last prediction, and it was out there, but I kind of thought it would actually happen. The fact that we all know PlayStation had nothing to do with E3 this year, but they weren't to be outdone and would showcase some Uncharted. Nah, that didn't happen at all. PlayStation, dude, they were just a ghost. There was nothing to be found of them whatsoever. So that puts me at half a point because that's all I got out of this 3 predictions was 1/2 a point awarded. That was a lousy prediction. I honestly thought they'd have something though. Just like they let all of E3 go and Xbox stole the entire showcase and PlayStation just sat there and went chirp,
We'll
chirp.
see you later.
Right? Like it's just,
Come on.
oh man. All right.
That was like, I really thought you were onto something though. When you said Uncharted, I'm like, that's like the perfect timing. Drop
Right?
that like even a week or so later. No,
Nothing.
just crickets.
Absolutely nothing. I was so kind of disappointed in that one, man. Nate, you nailed this one big time. Absolutely crushed it. Ubisoft came out and you said we would see something and you would see a lot more being shown on Rainbow Six Extinction. Now, you did call it Parasite. I'm not worried about that. We do know what game you were talking about because they just relabeled it right before the showcase. So it's now called Rainbow Six Extraction, sorry. And we saw a ton of information on that, right? They had a showcase going for what, 10 minutes almost on Extraction?
Yeah, it was pretty lengthy.
Right? So Nate, you're awarded a whole point on that. That puts you at 1.5 points. I'm at currently half a point. Nate, you're at 1.5. Corey, you're at 1. You have 1 left, Corey. Do you remember what it was?
No, I'm trying to remember now.
I don't know.
I feel like it wasn't right.
So, first of all, Nate, congratulations. You won.
Oh.
Expect anything different?
That's what I thought.
So, Corey thought we would hear something. Because we've seen a little bit of it, and it's been a long time since we've seen anything of Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
We saw nothing.
Shafted, man. I got shafted. That was a surprise. I was surprised. I thought we'd see something on it, man.
Crickets again from Sony, man. Because is that going to come to PC or is that a Sony exclusive?
That's a Warner Brothers game.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Warner Brothers. And they had nothing to do there at all. Nothing out of Rocksteady, nothing out of anybody, right? It was just, what a weird E3. It's nice that it was back. It's nice to see that it's coming back. But I think they may have learned a lot this year to see, you know what, some of these showcases shouldn't have happened whatsoever. Let's be honest. And some of them were just lackluster, and others kind of nailed it, right? But it was a funny year. It was a different year because of COVID. Let's be honest. A lot of things you can see had the effects of COVID hitting what happened to E3. But our prediction winner was Nate with 1.5 points, buddy. Congratulations, Nathan. Congrats.
Thank you.
Golf clap. Always fun to predict E3. Check out InsideTheGame.ca, everybody.
For this week's mobile mention, I'm testing my aim in the Archers 2. So we're sticking with the medieval theme this week, and we're checking out the Archers 2, and this is available on iOS and Android. It's free to play, and honestly, this is a fun little time waster game that I came across, and I'm having a great time with it. It's a pretty basic style game. The idea is that you're an archer or bowman, and you're trying to take out your enemies that are coming from the right side of the screen, and they're going to be pushing you, whether they're on foot, or they've got bow and arrows, or as we saw in the trailer, they may be larger monsters, or bigger characters to take after. So honestly, there are a few different things in this game that kind of mix it up a little bit, and the one thing I really enjoyed was the fact that there's a campaign here. There's 3 worlds to go through, and progressive levels as you kind of go through each world. There's a bonus 4th world that they're teasing, saying it's coming soon. I thought that was kind of a really nice feature, because these free-to-play games, tend to be fairly basic. They don't necessarily always have, a deeper story to it. Not that there's much of a story here, but there's a cool little campaign that you can play through, and I thought, honestly, that was a nice little touch, because this game is difficult at times, so being able to kind of go back and play other levels makes this a little bit easier to kind of train up. The thing that gives this game a little bit of staying power is the fact that there's so much you can upgrade in this game. You collect in-game currency fairly quickly, so you can actually upgrade the weapons, the armor, the shields, kind of the whole loadout of your character, because as you progress through, the enemies do get more difficult, so you kind of need that better equipment to keep advancing. So there is a bit of a grind here, but that kind of is the addicting portion of this game. The fact that it is a little bit difficult when you first get going, especially to get used to it. The only harp I have on the game is the fact that I just feel like I can't pull, my shot back far enough, because it tends to be in the bottom left corner of the screen. So I feel like maybe I'm not getting the, enough power sometimes because I can't pull it as far as I'd like. But it just takes a little bit of getting used to. Every phone's a little bit different as well. But honestly, overall, this game's a ton of fun. It gives you a bunch of variety, and for being a free game on iOS and Android, you gotta check out The Archers 2.
It's time to rip and tear, this time on Prodeus. Now, for a few weeks, I've been messing around with this game, Prodeus. Now, if you're not familiar with that game, it's heavily inspired by old Doom. It is absolutely a corridor shooter, and it's kind of a new breath of an old sort of genre. You don't see too much about corridor shooters nowadays, at least not made quite like this. It is heavily influenced by Doom and Quake of old. It's sort of like if they made a new old Doom. I know that sounds a little bit strange, but it'll make a little bit of sense when you look at some of the combat and action going on in this game. It is very intense, very gory, and very high-paced. So, it's something to get a little used to. As a corridor shooter, the main objective you have is getting through a map, destroying whatever's in your path, and getting towards the end, usually just activating a button or something like an elevator kind of thing, and it brings you into the next mission. Now, between missions, there's actually an overworld where you can move around and kind of select which mission you would like to take on, and sometimes you're given the choice of different paths to take. Now, your goal is to get to the end of the level. You don't necessarily have to engage every enemy. Sometimes you're afforded the ability just to run right through and hit the button stopping the level. But in other cases, you are kind of put in this scenario where there's just waves and waves of enemies coming in, and you have to clear them before you're able to advance. And that's where the game's difficulty really spikes. I don't shy away from a challenging shooter, so it wasn't much of an issue for me, but I do recognize that some players are gonna hit a wall at certain areas in this game. They're gonna have a difficult time, and luckily for that, the game allows you to turn the difficulty up or down whenever you like, so that's quite comforting. There's a couple places I got stuck in where I just could not do it, no matter how hard I tried. But I turned the difficulty down one step, and suddenly I had that breakthrough. I got past that, turned it right back up to hard, and kept the onslaught going. I have to mention, something that stands out about this game is its absolute gore. It's not well shown, it's just kind of pockets of blood splatter, but you are very aware of the damage you're causing, and that is all about the aesthetic in this game. It's very grimy, kind of futuristic. It looks to be an alien kind of toxic area you're in, and the enemies are just these kind of sprite characters, but there is quite a good variety of them. I've touched on how this game looks and how it's very inspired from early Doom, but I want to explain that a little bit better. There's a pixelated kind of look to everything you're going through. Every weapon, every area, every enemy, it's all pixelated to look similar to old Doom. But it is kind of cleaned up. Everything is in a higher resolution. It's not grainy. It's quite modern, even though you can tell it's meant to be played like an old Doom shooter. I think the graphics of it are quite aesthetic to what they're trying to go for. They show the environments being very dark. They show the enemies being very gross and large. And I think graphically it does just enough to kind of fill the quota. It doesn't hurt your eyes at all, but it doesn't look super next gen either. That's not the point of this game. Something that often goes overlooked is the soundtrack, but in this game it's kind of hard to overlook that part, as in different areas it'll just slam you with this kind of heavy metal sort of soundtrack that is high intensity, high tempo, and matches the action very well. It is quite loud, so I did turn it down just a little bit, but I was so glad to have some form of music accompanying the gameplay. Think about, New Doom. The soundtrack was just pumping the whole time. It really kind of added to the energy and the atmosphere, and I think it's very true of this game as well. When it comes to the gameplay and the action side of it, it absolutely got me. I want to see a sequel to this. I want to see more games come out just like this. And there's actually a map editor that is included in this game where you can create all sorts of imaginative maps and keep the content going, freshen it up. Now, that's really cool because it gives the players the opportunity to express their imaginative ideas, especially after you come to the conclusion of this game and you've seen just about it all. Maybe you have some ideas about what you would want to create, or just create a battle arena of sorts. You're free to do so, and I think that's really cool. Just to recap on the kind of production aspects of it, the sound design, awesome. Totally nailed it there. The visuals, some people are going to be annoyed by the pixelation of it, but that was not anything that bothers me at all. I think it fits very well for the kind of game that it's accompanying, and it certainly did the job. It didn't look bad to my eyes whatsoever. I'm gonna have to stop myself because it would be too easy to talk more at length about this game and how much I enjoyed it. If you can't tell by now, I had a very good time with this game. All the action, the production behind it, filling the void and doing the proper job, it does this game some justice, and I had a great time. I use the term rip and tear like Doom because that's what it felt like I was doing the entire time. The soundtrack just pumping the entire time along with it. When it comes to rating this game, it is in early access, but it has been in early access for, I believe, over a year now. I feel comfortable putting a number on this one, and I'm going to have to give this an 8. I was totally just thrown into it, and I had a great time. A modern take on corridor shooters. Exciting and fast-paced action, heavily inspired by early Doom and Quake titles. I was blown away by Prodeus.
Alright, I'm back with your Rainbow Six Siege North American esports coverage, and Playday 4 has come and gone, and it was another huge series of blowouts, with the exception of one game being a 7-8 victory for Dark Zero Esports. But alright, let's get into game 1. We had Oxygen Esports against XSET. Now XSET, they were formed earlier this year, and their coach is a very reputable player from Rainbow Six Siege Pro League from the past. I'm talking about Jarvis. He was actually one of my favorite players back when he played on Team Canada all those years ago. But XSET, they're a new team, and it really does show. They were formed earlier this year, which arguably you could say is enough time to really form a solid game plan, but you can see as they play through each round that they improve round by round. But nonetheless, it was still a 7-2 victory for Oxygen as they just picked up a routine win and performed incredibly well on Oregon. Alright, now moving into game 2, we had Beast Coast versus Sonics. Blue versus blue. And it unfortunately wasn't as even of a match as it was in colors because it was another 7-2 blowout. Sonics ultimately performed very well this game. I mean, they had the opening picks every single round. And Beast Coast, their roster, they're not really looking too hot as far as the leaderboard goes. Their best rated player is about the same level of skill as the worst rated player on Sonics. And the worst rated player in the league, who is Rudy, he plays for Beast Coast. But I'm not trying to trash on these players. They performed actually really well in the 2 rounds that they won. In fact, I would say that they had their best round I've seen yet in the North American League by Beast Coast. I mean, they did really well on Consulate on a couple of those attacks and defenses. But with Rudy underperforming lately, he actually had a really good match all in all. He provided lots of support and was actually putting kills on the board. He was in a little bit of a cold streak, so it was nice to see him get out of that. But again, with the trend, 7-2 victory for Sonics versus Beast Coast. Alright, now game 3 was Space Station Gaming versus Mirage Esports. Now this was predicted to be the matchup of the week. But little did we know that Space Station Gaming, well, they were coming out swinging in this match. We're talking a 7-1 victory over Mirage. Mirage barely squeaked that one victory by Space Station, and just SSG really showed how they were the world champs not too long ago. I mean, they were shooting out C4s out of the sky. They had intel above and beyond Mirage at all times. And this is no easy feat. They were playing on Cafe and they were attacking. This is a very defender strong map. So to see them get 6 wins on attack on Cafe, that is insane. Mirage, they were playing okay, not their best game clearly, but SSG, they were just on a whole nother level this week. But that's it, guys. 7-1 SSG over Mirage. I'm excited to see what SSG has up their sleeve for next week and what Mirage will do to kind of make up for this loss. Alright, now the 4th and final game was the most exciting game of the day. It was Disrupt Gaming versus Dark Zero Esports on Villa. Both these teams, it was just a back and forth massacre. There would be times like the beginning of the match, Dark Zero, they started very strong, taking out Disrupt's utility on the attack, and just they looked so good. But then Disrupt, they would have these rounds where they would completely come back within the last 30 seconds and completely shut down Dark Zero. But it was a complete onslaught between Disrupt Gaming and Dark Zero Esports. I mean, 15 rounds, it went to the bitter end. And it was a little more in Dark Zero Esports' favor, but Disrupt Gaming, they're really showing that they're a competitor in the Pro League and they're going to put some more points on this board, and it will be a win next time, I'm sure. Now to give you a quick recap of where the season's at, we have Space Station Gaming in first place, TSM in second place. Now, they would probably be in first place if they played this week. They had a bye week, so they didn't even get the chance to put any points on the board. But we have Mirage in third place, Dark Zero Esports in fourth, Sonics in fifth, Oxygen in 6th, Disrupt Gaming in 7th, Xset and Beast Coast in 8th and 9th with 2 points. So you can kind of see how the season's going, with a few teams really sitting on top and then a handful of teams really duking it out for the middle. It's been a really exciting series of matches, and I will definitely keep you up to date next week, so stay tuned to Inside the Game and let me know if you guys have been keeping up with Rainbow Six. Are you guys watching the North American League, the European League? Please let me know. I love Rainbow Six and I would love to hear from all of you guys. But alright, I'll finish off with a couple really special highlights. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
The guys and I were live over on twitch.tv/theofficialitg as we hit the battlefield. Here it is, Chivalry 2.
Running away on fire. Sorry, burn!
Oh, what? I'm going back to the club.
Ah!
Pushing for ammo.
Man, I'm having a tough
First
round.
person with an axe in your face is not cool. Oh man. Vicious.
There's a lot of respawning in this game. At least for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Get three,
I got
couple of
hit now.
slashes in, then start from the beginning.
I'm definitely much better as an archer.
Yeah. Oh,
Not that I have a lot of kills, but at least I'm killing somebody this way.
hey man, if you can get rid of the other
Very
archers, that's
useful.
handy.
Not when you get nailed by a ballista.
No, no. You don't stand much of a chance there.
Not at all. I went flying.
I'm gonna hold down this little bridge, Nate. No one's coming across this thing.
Hey, you got him, Corey.
We'll see if anybody comes. No one's. Oh, okay. We got 2 guys here. 3 guys. All right, let's go, boys. Action bridge time.
Uh-oh.
Get him. Nice, I got him.
Oh, from behind. No.
Ow. Somebody help me. Help me. Oh, I'm dead.
Oh, the ballista guy got me. He saved my life. Nice. Let's go.
That's awesome.
That was amazing. I kicked some guy off the bridge, turned around, this guy was about to attack me, just got ballisted.
That is amazing.
That was fantastic.
Oh, triple arrows. Let's go. Alright, boys, we're doing good.
Oh, teammate. That was you, Corey. I got you again, Corey. I'm better at shooting my own guys.
Oh, let's
There
go.
you go. Got him. Nice. Ah!
These spear guys, they're the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, they're awful.
Oh man. The club's doing work, but I'm on fire. Oh. Yeah, you like that, eh, Daniel? Little John style with the club. Oh, let's go, Malik kill.
Oh, he ran into my spikes and died. Alright. Oh, my teammate died though. That's not good. Alright, 3 arrows.
Oh, yeah, I was not watching that.
3 arrows, 3 hits. That's all I need. Alright, one more hit.
I like to zoom
this is
out
the
and
last
watch
one.
just the chaos ensuing, though.
Oh, it's so awesome, man.
Nobody's coming after the bridge.
Oh no, they're getting close, guys.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're moving it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're moving.
Oh, yeah.
Light them on fire, but it's not.
It's not doing enough.
No, it's not. Oh, we got him! I got him! Oh man, we're going. Woo!
Clog it up. Clog it up. Hold the line.
I'm so close to getting my.
Triple kill.
Oh, where'd this red guy come from? He's behind us.
Yeah, there's a bunch came from behind.
Oh.
There, he's dead. Poop dealer, he's dead.
Nice. Good job.
Wow. Nice gamer tag.
Firebomb in the crowd. Let's go.
Yeah, do it.
I threw it in there.
That'll hold the line, man. I'm getting caught from behind. No. Oh man, we're so close. 45 seconds, guys. Hold the line.
Oh no.
Oh,
I need a pickup. I need a pickup.
where are you, Corey? Where
I'm
are
right
you,
here.
Corey?
I'm in front of you,
Oh, I
Drew.
got
I'm in
you,
front of
got
you.
you.
Thanks,
Got
bro.
30 seconds.
Not you.
Oh, I lit on fire. I took 3 guys down on the way in, though.
Oh. Oh man.
10 seconds, guys.
Come on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's go, 60. Let's go. Nice, guys.
Faster.
Ooh, as if we held it at the gate. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't actually thought we were gonna get rolled there the way those guys were plowing through.
Oh man.
Nicely done, boys.
That'll wrap up this week's episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. And don't forget, you can always be a part of the show. All you have to do is go to insidethegame.ca or hit us up in Discord, just like Mugs44 did. Here he is, and thanks again, and we'll see you next week inside the game.
So the batting order turns over now and set to go David Fletcher, a base hit in his first trip.
Yeah, guys, still the only hit in this game so far. They've been pretty well shut down. Guys on the mound have really much controlled the whole outcome up until this point.
On its tailor-made to short, 6, 4, 3. It's a double play and the inning is over.